Hi, how are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I am doing well. I'm happy. Just enjoying my weekend.
Uh-huh.
Well, is it the weekend? Actually, not. Spring, fall break.
Yes.
So, how are you spending your fall break?
Um, Studying
Mm,
mainly,
just
watching TV.
good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome. Yeah,
Yes.
would you introduce yourself to people who don't know you and, tell them where you're from?
Yes. My name is Rolani Pinulo. Uh, I prefer to be called Nina.
Nina?
Mhm.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
I'm from Guam, indigenous Chamorro, mixed race.
Mm-hmm.
24, college student, medical anthropology major. Is there anything else I should say?
Well, I think that's cool, but and I love the way you've introduced yourself. So, why do you choose to introduce yourself? I'm from Guam, Jamar. If I've heard it correct, what does it mean to you to be a Jamar?
A Chamorro?
Chamar, yes.
Um, hmm. Well, technically, Guam is a U.S. territory, but not a lot of Americans recognize it when I say I'm from Guam. Um, so I think I like to introduce myself as Chamorro to just remind people that we exist. Yes.
You exist.
Yes.
That's cool. So is it because it's a territory that a lot of Americans or even other people, because I think some people probably it's their first time to hear Guam in their name. So why is it so?
Um, Mostly the people who are American and go to Guam are military associated.
Yeah.
So I think when I do tell people I'm from Guam, usually it's people who are associated with the military in some way. Either their family member is serving or they're serving, something like that.
So a lot of people who really understand that place have some sort of military backgrounds and
Yes.
they have some knowledge about it. So what do you think people should know about Guam, especially those who just heard it today for the first time?
Hmm. It's a very beautiful place. You can go fishing there. You can go sightseeing. The ocean is so clear and beautiful. There's a lot of efforts to try and keep the ocean clean these days, so
Yeah.
it's even more beautiful than when I was growing up. We're starting to clean up the beaches and everything. It's very
Yeah.
beautiful.
Good stuff. And when you introduced yourself, you didn't include the part American, and trying to understand why do you prefer to go by HMR or Guam as a territory and not necessarily as a citizen of US?
I'm not sure if it's specifically a thing that we do in Guam, but when people ask you who you are and where you're from, they usually expect you to mention your ethnicity rather than your citizenship.
Yeah.
That's probably because a lot of people in the Pacific, like the islanders, we've undergone colonialism. So Guam was under Spanish rule, Japanese rule, and American rule. Um, so citizenship for us can be a tricky thing.
Yeah.
It's not really an indicator of who you are and identity. So people will often introduce themselves as their ethnicity because it tells you a lot about who they are, what kind of culture they grew up with, and whether or not you two have something in
Yeah.
common.
And tell us about your culture.
Um, let's see. Tomorrow. We love dancing, singing. What else? Goodness, there's so much to talk about. What do you want to know specifically?
Yeah, I would love to, hear about the lifestyle of Chamorro people, how they socialize, how this community is built, and just have a clear image of how your community is built and how people live and interact with each other on a daily basis.
people from Guam in general are very warm and welcoming. I can't really say much for everyone because we have such a great mix of people from different places there. But as far as Chamorros are concerned, we love to party, and everyone's invited. If you're even on the same street, you might end up just getting invited or crashing the party anyway, and no one would really care. We like to say a lot that everyone on Guam is related in some way. It's a very funny thing.
I think that's a good way to live life. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. So, how about food?
Oh, food. Food. One of the things I think people are very interested in is probably calaguin. It's a traditional dish made with chicken or fish or beef, whatever really you have on hand. And sometimes it won't be cooked.
So it's raw food. Is it a seafood or no?
It could be anything like chicken, beef, fish, shrimp. It's made with vinegar or lemon, some type of acid, so that the outside of the food is technically, I wouldn't say cooked, but it kind of gets rid of the bacteria on the outside. So it requires skill to make, because if you don't make it right, then obviously people get sick. But it's one of my favorite things to eat, and it's something that I can never find anywhere else.
Okay.
At least specifically like that, the way we make it back home.
So have you even maybe tried to have something that is closer to being authentic down here in Texas?
No.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, no. It's just, it's not made properly, it can actually make you sick. So I could make it, but I just prefer to do that when I'm home more than anything.
That's good. So is it among the things you really miss about being back home? Because if people geographically look at the maps and see how far Guam is from Texas, it's a long distance.
You might be interested to know that Guam is actually far from everything. We're like smack dab in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. The only thing that's close to us are other smaller islands. So that's probably why, if you look at the past, these islands that are close to us, basically the Mariana Islands, were very close, very connected. In fact, some of the islands have Chamorros as well. So,
So what are some of the festivals that you guys celebrate when like some people celebrate Christmas, Halloween, and different other festivals that people might celebrate? So do you have some festivals that bring people together on certain dates?
So many. I think if you give Chamorro people any reason to celebrate, they will. Everything could be celebrated. We celebrate American holidays. We celebrate Catholic holidays because much of the people in Guam are Catholic. We celebrate Japanese festivals and Korean festivals. So it's anything that you could think of to celebrate. We could celebrate there. Yes.
That's beautiful. So I hear you celebrate a lot of events from different places. It sounds to me as a multicultural place. So do you have people from all kinds of places that come and introduce their culture, their festivals to the community of Guam, that then they say, oh, let's join people and have a good time with them?
Yes, because we have a lot of people who are from Japan, from Korea, from China, who live in Guam, as well as the Philippines.
Yeah.
It definitely affects what we celebrate. And I think that the people in Guam are very accepting of other cultures, very accepting of learning how to celebrate other people's celebrations.
Yeah, that's cool. So now you are in Texas. I don't know how much of that you celebrate, or if you also sometimes get a chance to celebrate. So how has it changed your transition? to a different state?
Oh, Texas is actually the first state I've ever lived in, so I can't really say. It's very difficult. The only experience I have is Texas, and I only have a collective of about 2 years that I've lived here. I lived here maybe 1 year in high school, and then I came back for college, and now it's been about a little over a year that I've been attending college here.
Oh, so you're still new.
Yeah, I still consider myself new, still figuring things out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good stuff. Well, we're still in introduction and trying to understand a little bit about your background, which is great. I think it's important to know who we're talking to, their story, and what makes them happy. So I enjoy learning about people's emotions. And when was the last time you cried?
The last time I cried?
Yeah.
Goodness, that's pretty recently.
Okay. Was it like yesterday or?
I can't remember exactly what day it was or exactly what I was crying about, but yeah, I think I cried pretty recently.
Are you very emotional, you think, or?
Yes, I am.
So when you cry, what do you do to stop crying?
Nothing. I just let it be, and then I move on, I suppose.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't remember when was the last time I cried, but
Oh my.
I think I cry in a different way. Probably, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You don't cry with tears, but with your heart.
I hope so.
Oh my. What do you mean you hope so?
Yeah, I know my heart pumps blood.
Okay.
I don't know. Anyways, yeah, but something I like, and I've asked the same question to a lot of people about when was the last time they cried is, one, sometimes it has some sense of connection to what brought their cry emotions. Sometimes it's a great story. Sometimes it's something they would, want to share with you.
Oh, I
And
see.
it just gives me a sense of life. And, in the conversation, it's a great conversation started to a lot of people. And most of the
Oh.
times you don't believe, but they open up.
Okay, I guess I could share what I cried about then.
Yeah.
I think I remember crying about the food. I cry about that often.
Blue food.
The cafeteria food is definitely. I actually made friends with a student here, and when I asked him, well, how do you manage to eat the food and just enjoy it? And he said, well, you just get used to it. And it's been about, a little over a year since I've been eating the food from the cafeteria, and I'm still not used to it. So, yeah, it's something that I still get frustrated about, wondering why I'm not just more used to the food. Very frustrating.
Yeah. And so are you allergic or it's just a test? Yeah, as you said, you're not used to. And why do you think it's taking long to get used to it?
We have very spicy food back home. We tend to use a lot more seasoning than just a few things, and I feel like when I eat some dishes here, it's just salt, black pepper, maybe some garlic powder in the food. Not always, the best seasoning.
Yeah. And so do you sometimes have a chance to cook your favorite food?
Sometimes. Very rarely. Don't always have time to cook. Don't always have, or trying to save the money instead of buying ingredients to cook.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So are you religious?
I don't like to talk about religion much because it brings on a bit of, it becomes a little bit political, and I'm not very political about my religion. But yes, I would consider myself religious.
Yeah, if you don't mind sharing, what's your religion?
I'm Buddhist. I am one of those rare young persons who used to frequent the temple back home. Whereas I used to be surrounded by elderly people because people my age don't usually want to go to. Well, I can't speak for other places.
Yeah.
As far as temple, I don't get to see many of my younger friends there. Especially during the pandemic, it wasn't. I don't understand why, but it was a lot more elderly people going instead of the younger ones.
Okay, yeah. And so share me the experience of, hanging out with elderly people. And, you're a young person. How were you able to have conversations with them and, be able to communicate?
I love it because when you're with elderly people, they don't speak much. There are things that they will tell you and they won't always repeat it, but it's just understood that that's what you're meant to do and that's what you do. For example, the elderly, they always would thank me for throwing out the trash, but it just felt like, well, obviously I'm going to be the one throwing the trash because I'm one of the few people who has the energy to do so, and of course I would love to do that. Yes. So and then I just felt like they taught me a lot. They did not go easy on me. Yeah. When it came to Chinese, they would just speak to me in Chinese. So I often understood through gestures rather than the language.
So we also learned Chinese?
Yes, sort of. I feel like I understand it a bit more than I can actually speak it.
Yeah.
And now it's just falling out of my brain since I haven't been using it at all.
Interesting. So how did you get there? How did you go into Chinese?
Definitely has to do with Buddhism. I started going to temple and really being seriously religious when I started college. And obviously, since it's a Chinese temple, everyone who's there speaks Chinese or knows Chinese in some way. And I just felt like if I had to understand people, I had to learn the language.
Oh, gotcha. That's interesting.
Or at least understand it, which is where I was at. I could understand a little bit, but I couldn't really speak it, although I would try.
That's wonderful. So have you had the chance to travel around different countries? Yeah, I think it's a good thing to do. So have you had the chance to go to different places?
Oh, yes. Yes, I have.
Where?
I've been to Japan, Germany, South Korea. I've been to Paris once.
Okay, that's a lot of traveling. So if I've recognized that most ingredients or things you buy, the different groceries, they have Japanese written on them.
Yes.
So what's the connection between you and Japan?
My family uses a lot of Japanese ingredients, so it's just that when I see these products and the brands, I recognize them, and that's what I use. I just use what I'm used to, really.
Yeah. So growing up, you want to keep the culture. So back to you hanging out with elderly people.
Yes.
What would you say is like one of the most really impactful or transformational advice you've been able to get from them that is shaping the way you're living your life today?
I don't know about advice, but if you went to temple, I think you would learn that the elderly, they actually have a lot more energy when it comes to temple activities. For example, when you go to temple, you have to bow down to the floor, on your knees, and you go all the way down, putting your head on. There's a little rest, so you don't actually put your head on the floor, but on this rest. And sometimes when I would feel tired, because it's actually quite it's like an exercise. Sometimes when I feel tired, I notice that a lot of the elderly, they have so much energy and they just keep going. And so I've learned that there's some sort of resilience. It's not really advice, but you can do it.
You can do it.
Yeah, even when it seems hard.
That's a good lesson,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's a good way to be inspired by looking at people. A lot of people think they are weak in some sense, and you get inspiration of how they perceive and persevere and keep doing, and stay focused on their belief, practice what they think is great. Well, I think you have so much to share, and we can leave the rest for the next episode. But I want to say thank you for being able to share about yourself and teaching us a little bit more about your upbringing, your community, and Guam in general, your ethnicity, and what your ethnicity means to you. I think having a sense of identity is one of the greatest assets people can have, because it helps them be themselves, know where they're going, understand their history, and have a sense of how they value things and how they can share their cultures and experience with other people. So I think I have personally learned a lot, and I expect people listening to us to do the same. And so I want to say thank you again. And I'm super excited for the next episode, because it's going to be great as this one.
Thank you.
You are most welcome.